In this episode, we're going to learn how to use smart filters, which is a non-destructive way of making alterations to your image at a later stage. First of all, I'm going to show you making a change on a layer in a normal conventional method. So we're going to make a layer. I'm going to add a filter. On this filter, I'm going to add a blur. And I'm going to add a Gaussian blur. And I'm going to really go off the map with it. I'm going to use a Gaussian blur of 1000. I'm going to say OK. Oh, I've decided 1000 is too much and I want to take it back a bit. So let's go back to our filter and go into our blur and go to our Gaussian blur. And where we see the 1000, let's 10 say, okay. And you will see the result hasn't changed. We can't go back. It's baked into the system. So how do we overcome this particular problem and still maintain our layer and gain the flexibility to make changes? How do we do it? Very simply. And remember, get the notebook ready and mark down the moves you need to do in order to make this possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump this layer. We're going to recreate the layer. And like all good systems, what we're going to do here is we're going to call this master. And we're going to call this blur. Okay. So we've got our blur layer and we've got our master layer. And I'm just going to add because it's going to be a smart object. Just so we remember. With this layer selected, we're going to go up to layer. In this instance, we're going to go down to smart objects and we're going to convert our layer into a smart object. So we go to layer, go to smart objects and click on convert to smart object. And when we click on it, we'll get this little box appear on the screen, which is our indicator that this layer is different from this one. Okay. Now this time, if we go and apply a blur, we go to our filter and we go down to blur and we apply Gaussian blur and we take our Gaussian blur right up to 1000 and we get the same result as we got previously and we're going to say OK. Now what you'll notice is there's another layer automatically appears below. And this allows us to carry out an adjustment that we couldn't carry out to the conventional layer. So if I double click on my Gaussian blur, in this instance, I'm going to go back to 10. And you will see that we have got full control. We are able to make adjustments in line with our thoughts at a later stage without losing the ability to make corrections. I hope that this video has opened up your creativity and of course perhaps may have saved you some time because you were making mistakes, you were dumping layers, and as a result of this the length of time to edit a photo was quite long. Now just to finish off, on this blur, I could add a mask. And if I press my option key and go down to make sure my area here is white and black, press my option key and click, you'll see the blur has now disappeared. And effectively, you can go in with a brush and decide where you want that blur to appear. Just a little end note. In this video, I use Gaussian blur as my example to explain smart objects. I'd like to point out that you can create smart objects on numerous layers. So effectively, have fun experimenting and enhancing your skills.